Good afternoon, everyone. The public meeting of the Vallecitos Water District Board of Directors, Wednesday, August 21st, 2024, at 5 p.m. will come to order. Notice to the public. Before we begin, I'd like to announce that members of the public may watch this meeting live via computer or smart device by going to the district's website and clicking on the Watch Live icon. However, they will not be able to participate in the meeting remotely. Members of the public may also listen to the meeting live on their phone by dialing 888-788-0099 toll-free or 877-853-5247 also toll-free. When prompted, enter the meeting ID and passcode displayed on the district's website, and I will lead us in the Pledge of Allegiance. Please rise. Ready? Begin.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you. Next is attendance. Please indicate your presence. And we have 3 present, with Directors Hernandez and Elitharp absent. Do we have any additions to the agenda, General Manager?
No, we do not, ma'am.
Okay, thank you. Then may I have a motion to adopt the agenda for the regular meeting of August 21st, 2024?
Motion.
Okay, motion by Director Grosset, seconded by Vice President Pinnock. Please vote. Okay, and the motion carries unanimously by those present. Do we have any public speakers tonight?
No, ma'am.
Okay, thank you. Moving on to the consent calendar. Do I have anything that any board member would like to pull from the consent calendar? Okay, then may I have a motion to approve the consent calendar as presented? Okay, thank you. Motion by Vice President Pinnock.
And seconded.
And seconded by Director Grosset. Any discussion? Seeing none, please vote. And the consent calendar is approved. Thank you very much. Moving on to action items. Agenda item 2.1, fiscal year 2024 tactical plan initiatives. Final report, fiscal year 2025 tactical plan initiatives. Do we have any public speakers for this agenda item?
No.
Okay, and I believe we have a presentation.
Yes, thank you, Madam President. As we get the presentation queued up here, I'll remind the board that this is the tactical plan initiatives. The tactical plan is a document that's put together by staff in order to meet the goals of the strategic plan, which is basically a comprehensive document that came from board all the way down to staff and all the way back up to board before being finalized in 2022. With that, today we're going to basically putting 2 presentations in one. It is the summary of what happened in fiscal year 2024, which starts in basically July 1st of 2023 to June 30th of 2024. And basically our accomplishments, the things we got done, the things that we continued into this current fiscal year, and of course items that we did not get done. We'll also be presenting the items of the work plan for fiscal year 25, which started in July of this year. In the past, and goes to June 30th of 2025. In the past, the board usually got one presentation and then several months later got the other. But the management team pulled together and did a lot of work to bring it all at once, which I think shows more relevancy, since a lot of the items that we're working on currently, instead of being already halfway through the fiscal year, we're showing it fairly close to the beginning. So with that, let me give you a little background.
Just quickly before you begin, I want to compliment whoever made that last slide. It was very nice. Was that double peak?
Yes, it is. And we decided to use the talents of Lisa Urabi to help with the graphics on the slides.
Okay.
So our public information staff had a hand in the not only just the content with Chris's team, but also the actual visual aesthetics.
Great.
So
thank you.
And if you do like it, we will be bringing to the future the branding and looking at rebranding, and these are some of the ideas that we have for it. So.
Okay. Should we, before we get started, should we take attendance again? Okay, if we will just hold on this presentation, we will take attendance again in 20
Perfect timing.
seconds.
Perfect, huh?
Yeah, just starting the first action item.
Thank you all. Sorry. San Diego traffic, oh my goodness.
Okay, now if we can all please take attendance one more time.
Look at that.
Okay, with 4 present and Director Elitharp absent. Thank you. Thank you for that flexibility. Okay, let's begin.
All right. Let me get the items queued up. So this will be the overview of the accomplishments for the fiscal year 24 tactical plan and the introduction to the fiscal year 25 tactical plan. And as soon as we get it queued up, I will continue with my presentation. All right, here we go. Thank you. So a quick background, I covered some of this already, but this, as the board is aware, strategic plan is our core document. It's a long-term document that sets guidance from the board level of what's important. It's also the main, I'd call it the North Star that staff looks towards in the direction. Is the work we're doing heading in that direction? The answer has to be yes for most everything that we do, or else we have to come back as staff and say, why are we doing this work? So we identify and prioritize the priorities, we set future goals, and that is our long-term document. It was adopted in 2022, and it's a document that usually lasts unless there's some dramatic shifts in the environment that we have to deal with for anywhere from 5 to 10 years. But it does warrant at times to get looked at again. So with that, the tactical plan, which we'll cover next, well, it's a strategic plan, long-term, and has 6 focus areas. And those 6 focus areas, just as a reminder, are our infrastructure, organization, as far as improvements in efficiency, our workforce, and it says workforce excellence, but it's also workforce development, retention, and everything that goes in with that. Fiscal responsibility, and that's pretty straightforward. You guys see a lot of that, obviously, during budget season and audit season. Public information and outreach, which we've been very actively involved in this last fiscal year, and environmental stewardship. So our tactical plan is the short-term goals and objectives that's set by staff and management to basically work towards achieving this. So we ask ourselves on every item, major work item, are we working towards one of our strategic objectives? And the answer should be yes. And if the answer is no, then we question that work. And that's basically a process that staff and management supervisors levels go through at some point, especially during the budgeting process. So today I'm going to go over first the 23/24, so fiscal year 24 tactical plan review. Just a quick overview of it. We created over 66 initiatives, and of those 66 initiatives, 37 of them were successfully completed, and there was about 22 items that rolled over. What rolled over means is we didn't get it all done, we made significant progress on it, and most of them will either be reanalyzed or continued the next fiscal year. And then we had 7 items that did not start. In this presentation, I'm going to give you highlights. I'm not going to go over all the items. I'm going to give you highlights on there and kind of just hit 1 or 2 of the highlights that are actually on your screen. In front of you on paper, or if you have a computer online, you actually have a printout of both the 23/24 and also the 24/25 tactical initiatives. And if there's ever a question, I'm going to stop and pause before I move on to the next fiscal year 25 initiatives from the board, and the president allows, please, at that time, it'd be appropriate to ask questions. It may not be on the board here, maybe something I present, maybe something you read or you have curiosity of. And the management team and staff's here to answer those questions if I can't. So the good news is we have an 89% completion or major progress rate. So, and those, in other words, completion to 37 completions is a great accomplishment. But even with the 22, there's significant work accomplished with those. And, you know, whether it's in contractor delays or material supplies or staffing delays, we didn't get it all done. But we actually moved the ball forward quite a bit. So I'm very proud of the 89% completion rate. I think staff did an outstanding job. So let's talk about the areas. The first area is Area 1, which deals with our infrastructure. So there's 16 total initiatives. I didn't list all 16. 10 successful completions in here, and about 6 rollovers. So a couple things I want to highlight, and I'm not going to bore you by reading every bullet, is there's a lot of metal arc projects. You can see the metal arc failsafe, and then 2 projects on basically at the plant that all move forward to the successful completion anticipated during this fiscal year, or really last fiscal year. We have also several other large projects that move forward, like the land outfall project and our asset management plan. And then we also met our goals, our primary goals, our first steps with the fleet electrification to meet the statutes of the state requirements. And of course, those new items, for example, fleet electrification, will continue in the new fiscal year. And then we have multiple rollover projects, and just to highlight really one of them tonight, the Tres Amigos water pipeline, phase 1, which the board may or may not be aware of, had multiple line breaks, and I'll give you a little bit more update on that, the GM report. That project is out to bid, and actually the bid openings are coming this Thursday, I believe, so I know that all staff is very excited about getting that project fixed. Area 2 is organizational improvements and efficiency. 9 of 14, we had 9 successful completions. A couple things that hits the board directly is the new board handbook. It's online. It's still a living document. We're still working on stuff, but the document's ready. It's online and it's available, and we will continue to improve that as process, get feedback from board members, and make it a better document, almost like a living handbook. We're also moving to a more of an electronic process. E-signatures for our contract documents have been implemented. We're looking at basically our public records portal. We're also looking at making a lot of our processes more electronic, and people could do things online and have the proper protocol. So those all have moved forward successfully. And then obviously on the operational side, working with IT, our big SCADA master plan was completed. We're actually moving forward and implementing these things, and the board sees a lot of these projects through contract awards already. And Department of Homeland Security upgrades for our infrastructure on our network. This is our IT infrastructure to make sure that our systems are safe, as safe as they can be at least. And obviously we had 5 rollover projects. We're really in the middle of updating a retention policy. That's one of the ones I want to highlight, and that's why it's there. Moving on to Area 3, which is workforce excellence. So 15 initiatives, a pretty large amount of initiatives for a staff of 2 in that group, and they completed 6 of them. One of the big ones is we retained a fiduciary, an expert, and we're basically revamping our basically deferred compensation plan that provides more of the monies that employees put in. They get to keep less fees, more benefit, less fees. So it's something that we're in the middle of doing now, which is jumping to the current fiscal year. Another update is, updating our personnel policies. We started our DEI policy. We're streamlining increased employee recognition programs. And the board was a big part of that when they awarded the level service certificates. That's part of that employee recognition program. So the board's actions, you'll see, directly relate to these successes. They're work that staff put together, that the board took actions on many of them. 4 rollover projects, including continuing in the succession planning. We do have a lot of important retirements. We've identified the main ones, and now we're getting into how do we prepare staff, how do we bring up new staff, and going through those processes now. And then there's 5 that didn't get started, and I've listed a few of them here, but the reasons were all the same. During the fiscal year, as you know, we had a manager, Rondi Emanuel, retire. We hired a great new manager. She's taken the ball up, but there was definitely downtime. And with a staff of 2 and that ramp-up time to bring a new person on board, and also looking at the priorities, we went ahead and started prioritizing what we could work on and moved other things for later years. So Area 4 is fiscal responsibility, and we've had a lot of successes. 13 initiatives, 8 successful completions. Obviously, the ACFR, our Annual Comprehensive Financial Report, is one of them. Our PERS funding target policy, which the board took action on, is another one I want to highlight. We had multiple rollover projects, which includes exploring and placing revenue requirements on the tax bill. We're looking at, this is beyond looking at putting all residential sewer rates. This is looking at what fixed costs make sense to put on the tax bill. It's nothing that we're taking action on. It's something that, something that staff was tasked to evaluate. And preparing our AMI feasibility and return on investment story. AMI is basically remote reading, where you could look at meter reads from the office. You could look at real-time reads, 15-minute intervals. It's the next level. Currently, we have drive-by, and we collect 30 days of data at a time. This is more instantaneous, could be done right here at the office. A lot of agencies have moved over to that. We currently have a pilot study, and we're basically looking at succeeding and completing our tactical initiatives this current fiscal year on this one. And Area 5, public outreach. So as you know, the public outreach group is a small but mighty group, and they've been extremely busy this year. They've had 4 successful completions of 6. They put together 20 videos of the work we do videos that went out on social media. They conducted multiple tours. Now, the big thing that they did this year is we reached out beyond San Marcos Unified School District, understanding our workforce comes from other cities and other areas too. Obviously, 6 landscape conversions were completed, 2 are underway, and the Palomar intern program, we are on our 5th intern on that, and it's been a very successful program. Not started, customer welcome packet. So this one was reimagined, and not to steal a little too much thunder of the current fiscal year, we're looking at putting together an electronic packet when new customers come in, a video tutorial showing all the resources, all the things, how to get in touch with people, all there so they get it via email instead of a paper mailing packet, which would be much more pricey. We're exploring that option, and we've revisited this item that didn't start to make it a new type of a new task for next year. And then explore bulk purchasing, and that's basically exactly what it sounds. Several agencies order the same type of chemicals and equipment, and can we partner to get more economies of scale? So the last strategic focus area, which is environmental stewardship, 2 initiatives. One was successfully completed, which is the water loss validation. The second one that's being rolled over is basically our Meadowlark direct potable reuse feasibility study. We're reimagining this one to get grant funding. There's grant funding available. We've gotten together with consultants, and we're looking forward to getting grant funding to hopefully get majority of the study covered through a grant. So that's going to be the initiative this year. With the direct potable reuse rules in place at the state, we still have lots of time before it becomes a reality. So we're taking this opportunity to hopefully get some grants to pay for the study instead of using ratepayer money. So before I move on to 24, 25, and of course the board at its pleasure could ask questions at any time. Is there any questions about anything from the current fiscal year or anything that you may have on the spreadsheet, which shows every initiative that was done or implemented for fiscal year 24, which is 23/24?
I just want to congratulate the staff. This is a lot of work. I know it's a lot of work to both do these updates, but also the work throughout the year to continually be focused on this and tracking and measuring. So I want to congratulate the staff and thank you all for putting the effort in. I know that this is a big undertaking, and I'm very pleasantly surprised to see some of these initiatives that we've been talking about for years be coming through and being completed. I also happen to notice that a lot of the O&M are almost complete, and we're sort of running down the clock on that, but I appreciate that those are getting checked off.
Definitely, and the baton's being passed along accordingly, so thank you. I'll go ahead and move forward with the 24-25 initiatives, which are the proposed tactical initiatives. Obviously, if the board has any questions even about the past year, please don't hesitate to ask. So for fiscal year 24-25, we're proposing 59 initiatives, but 27 of them are new. So we have a 45% brand new initiatives. We took a fresh look at our resources, our basic manpower, resources. The new reality of it is, how fast can we really get materials, equipment, the cost of doing business in the current environment, and looked at what are our priorities and reprioritized. So we have 32 rollovers and basically 27, because what we did is we ended up reprioritizing projects and basically creating new tactical initiatives. And I don't want to gloss over the 27 new, because that's a lot of new initiatives to meet the goals. And this came from staff. This came through the management team. And I'm very proud of the way that it worked, because we started in this back in May, and we started really putting our heads together on what's the priorities of our organization, where do we want this organization to go, how do we meet these objectives, and what's the best way with the resources that we have in our current environment to get there. And those are kind of the questions that we asked each other, and this is the result of that. With that, I kind of combine areas for brevity, and also to go over, because there's a lot of new initiatives. However, you do have the full list if you want to ask any question. And I won't be going over every single items. So obviously, strategic focus area 1 and 2, which deals with our infrastructure and our organization. You're looking at 17 rollover items. I'm not going to go over the rollover items. I'll go over some of the highlighted new items. There's 10 new items here. That's a lot of new items in that category. Some of them includes performing the condition assessment of ductile iron. We're starting in that San Leo area. This is something that we want to become a normal process, and this is the first time we're doing it. So we're very excited about it. We're also moving forward very cautiously, and we want to have our learning curves this year, so this way we get better at it every year. Updating our board retention policy is another item that we're going to be moving forward with. Developing a Black Skies event, and this is basically an event where all power runs out, and as you may remember, it's happened before. We have a lot of staff, we have a lot of new staff that haven't been through it. They need to know what levers to pull if all the power goes out at once. So, and one of the things that our O&M manager is going to put together is that event for training purposes before the time runs out on his lights here exactly at Vallecitos. I didn't want to put it that way, Jim, but I'm glad you did. And then developing a draft cross-connection control policy. This is a direct reaction to a new mandate. So this is a requirement. And so we put it in here because we have to meet that requirement. Strategic focus areas 3 and 4. That's workplace and fiscal items. So again, we have 10 rollover items, and we have some highlight items there. A lot of it's in the human resources. We are looking at a new electronic process for onboarding accidents and incidents. So we're basically modernizing and finally coming into the current century, and we're taking these initiatives to basically make it easier for employees, easier to track items, and reduce paper. Revise, update HR policies. So we started already on the DEI policy. We're going to be bringing certification and pay policies, recruitment policies, all these things. The board's going to be seeing them in one package. We'll be bringing them to a P3 committee to talk about in general, and at one point it'll be coming to the board for adoption. And develop new 2-year Prop 218. This is part of that goal. In my early August update that I sent out, I kind of laid out a plan of how to basically react to the increasing wholesale costs, and part of it is next calendar year looking at a new 218 process to basically catch us up to current rates, in starting the current rates, which will be implemented in January of 2025. And then, of course, revised recycled water agreement. This is already well underway. We actually have meetings scheduled with our partner agencies, Livenhain and Carlsbad, in early September to hopefully do the final negotiations on the recycled water agreement. And will be a good thing for the district because it'll secure recycled water sales and revenue, hopefully for the next 20+ years. So,
Why is that not under the environmental strategic area?
I don't know. Originally, it was under that area too because it's more of a contract agreement because
Oh, I see.
So
Okay.
that's probably why.
Okay.
So, but many areas also have both environmental and infrastructure co-equal goals.
Right.
Areas 5 and 6, public info and environmental. So we have 6 new items in this area, and part of it is developing Vallecitos in a community video series. And if you've been paying attention on social media at all, you've probably seen a bunch of new videos being rebranded to Vallecitos in the community. We're really trying to make that tie into how we're part and integral to this community. We're your neighbors. We work with you. We do internship programs. We do blood drives. We live in the community. We work in the community, and we're part of the fabric of this community. Chris and his team have already put out several videos of that, and we're looking at putting 8 to 10 videos out with that messaging and with content that's relevant to the community out. We're researching further internship programs, expanding our opportunities. Our urban water management plan is also coming due, so that's a state required document that we'll be working on. And our climate progress report. So we started on this. It was never an initiative. We're making this an official initiative to finalize the climate progress report, or at least get a significant amount of that done, because it is a fairly large undertaking as we dive deeper into the details of it. So with that, and I'm a little off on the screen, but with that, 24 shows an 89% completion progress of several basically tactical initiatives. And we revised several of those rollover initiatives in the current fiscal year to basically react to the realities that we see today. Are they relevant? Do we need to change the scope? Do we have the staffing and equipment or resources to complete the scope? And then obviously with that, the 25 staff revisited and prioritized all the tactical initiatives. We created 27 new, and I can't stress that enough. That's a lot of new initiatives, and they were created by staff, and they're all moving forward. And one of the things you see, and you may have noticed or may not have noticed, but I'll point it out, is almost every staff report now will have a strategic goal or initiative section in it, and it'll point to which strategic goal, if it applies, or it'll say not applicable if it doesn't. So the board could see how this ties into the bigger picture on any item that it's bringing to the board, whether it's consent or action. With that, I'm happy to answer any questions, and I have a team that could answer questions even better than me if you have specifics on the project. Thank you.
Okay, what quick questions do my colleagues have?
I have a couple quick questions.
Sure.
First of all, congratulations. That's awesome. I mean, I'm very impressed. Congratulations on the 80% completion. 2 quick questions. You've talked about priorities. So you've made these the priorities. How do you prioritize the priorities? As far as you're not going to hit. So how do you prioritize these? Because you're not going to hit them all. I mean, even if you hit 89%, what are you looking at?
That's a great question, Director Panic. And basically, when we started, we had way more than 59. We knew we couldn't get the work done. So we looked at the strategic objectives again from the strategic plan. And we also looked at what was priority as far as regulatory requirement, things that just have a deadline. Obviously, everything that was a requirement and had a deadline rose to the top. We have to get that done. The next thing is, where are our pain points? Whether it's, I'll give you an example, that's a physical project example. We know that we've had multiple breaks on a particular line, and every time that line breaks, we put customers out of service, we spend overtime and equipment and resources to fix it that costs the district and its ratepayer money. So we want to prioritize those projects. And then there's other projects that were priorities in the past that really, that infrastructure, that process isn't broken. We can improve it. It'll be better when we improve it, but it isn't broken today. So we put those as secondary priorities. So we basically kind of listed, and every manager came up with their priorities, and then we discussed them as a group. Because a lot of their priorities have basically impact across different departments. And then from there, I won't say it was a negotiation tactic. It actually went very smooth. I envision, you know, a little yelling and screaming and throwing pencils across at each other. It never happened, but it would have been entertaining to watch. But it never happened that way. We came pretty quickly to a consensus, even across opposite sectors of departments.
No, thank you. That seems like it went well. And, no, I know staff spent a lot of time on this, and it's amazing. What type of input do I don't want to call them lower-level employees, but the employees, what kind of input do they have in this process? I mean, do they come with some problems and then upper management kind of incorporates that? I just wanted to know what kind of input they had.
I can't speak for all departments, but in general, the direction and the input that I got from managers reached out to supervisors, and supervisors talked to staff about what can you get done, what can we not get done, and why. And that got rolled back up, and that's where a lot of things where we said we had to look at our resources, manpower, availability to get things done. That's where that came from. That came from lower staff and mid-level staff saying, I'd love to get that done, but if I get that done, I can't do these other three things. I think that's in general how the process worked. Obviously, different levels, different staff had different amount of input, but in general, it reached out to staff and it came back.
Okay, no, I love that, because if they take ownership in it, then they're gonna, there's a buy-in from their perspective. So if it's, hey, I have this idea, even from the guy, I don't know, I don't wanna use examples, but lower-level employees, and they say, hey, if we can put this on the priority list, I know I can do my job a lot better, and hopefully there's been that communication that's, like you said, worked its way down and then worked its way back up, so you can then put it on a tactical plan.
I can assure you it has, but I could tell you probably we could even do better.
Thank you. No, thank you.
Yep.
Thank you. I too got B pluses in school, so good job, guys. No, I'm kidding. If you got 99%, that would be goal seeking, and we don't want that here. But it does, to me, appear that you are listening to what the board is asking, and a lot of the goals that you have in here and initiatives have certainly been things that I've heard mentioned here on the dais. And so it should make the public feel good knowing that all of our needs are being addressed here. And on top of that, exceeded. And for that, all good things. And I do have two specific questions, if Wes wouldn't mind taking the mic. I noticed you have a goal for an award-winning financial plan. Is that correct?
Award-winning financial plan. I don't know if what do we do for the financial plan?
We
had the ACFR.
Yeah, it's an award. It's because we get the GFOA award.
Yeah.
That's what you're talking about.
I see.
The annual comprehensive financial report. So we do that on an annual basis. It's the financial statements.
Yep.
We take them from the basic financial statements and convert them into what's called an ACFR, the annual comprehensive financial report.
Got it. I remember it. I didn't mean to waste your time. I was just wondering what award we were targeting here.
Yeah, and it's actually back there on the plaque.
Yep.
We've gotten 5 of them so far, so we're going to continue to do them. It's on there as a goal every year because it changes from year to year. There's a lot of new regulations that come out, new pronouncements from the Government Accounting Standards Board. It's very challenging. It's like a 75-page checklist we have to go through. It's ever expanding, and so I like to keep it on there because it's not just something that we redo every year. It needs to be I feel it needs to be recognized.
Love it. And then I was reading our investment report in the bigger board packet, and things are going well. Do you know offhand how much we made in interest alone this month?
Yes, and actually one of our successful completions up here, one of the highlights is the second one there where it says we nearly tripled investment returns for FY24. So thanks to the board and our initiatives here, we actually went from about $1.5 million in interest earnings to almost $4 million in FY24.
That's excellent.
Love to hear it, and thank you so much for everything that you do, and thank you everyone. Just really doing a great job with the strategic plan.
Any other comments? So I appreciate that, we have different buckets that we are listing, and that appeals to me because I like to categorize, and I think we as humans like to categorize. But I would like to compliment that the board and sort of the integration of trying to build public trust. I think that that's very, very critical in a time when trust in government and public agencies is historically low. And I can see that we are going above and beyond in multiple things that we are doing, whether it's fiscal, whether it's public outreach, to really message that we are here in the community, we have folks that live in the community, we work in the community, we have great jobs, and we are supportive of the community. So I want to compliment everyone for working together on that. I think that's really, really important, and it's not a separate bucket. It crosses all the buckets, so I want to call that out. So thank you. This was a tremendous amount of work. And I was going to suggest that we could color code anything that was new, but then I noticed the column, so I'm okay with the column. It can stay just like it is, because I also like colors to be able to see it at a glance. But thank you. This is a tremendous amount of work. Thank you. Anything else? Okay, I think this is just for information, right? Or are we
Yes, thank
adopting?
you. Yep.
Okay. Okay, thank you all. Okay, we are not approving anything for this. This is just for information only, correct?
That's correct.
Okay. All right. I think we are moving on to agenda item 2.2, Capital Improvement Program Annual Report. Do we have any public speakers for this agenda item?
No, ma'am.
Thank you. All right, and I think we are having a presentation.
Yes, while they get it queued up, as the board may recall, this is per policy. Annually, the Capital Facilities Group, led by Ryan Morgan, does an update on our capital projects. Capital projects end up being a large expenditure. So with that, this is the annual update for our Capital Facilities Group and our capital projects. With that, I'll hand it over to both Jason and Ryan.
Thank you, General Manager Gumpel. Just going to share the presentation. Okay. Oh, I got you. All right, thanks for your patience on that. As General Manager Gumpel mentioned, this is the annual capital improvement program annual report for fiscal year 23-24. This is something we bring to the board every year to report out the metrics of capital facilities on an annual basis. The slide before you shows page 34 through 36 of the fiscal year 23-24 budget, and in total, the district's entire capital improvement program budget was just under $146 million last year. Of that amount, capital facilities, well, first of all, capital facilities manages improvement projects to upgrade the infrastructure of the district. Examples of this include pipeline replacements, capacity improvements, pump station replacements, and treatment plant upgrade projects. Of that, capital facilities manages 61% of the district's total CIP. And in past annual reports that the board may have seen, we had focused on the district total CIP. We reformatted this presentation a little bit this year to really focus on capital facility project-based metrics. Also important to note, Encino Wastewater Authority, the 5-year plan equates to 21% of the projects budgeted in the CIP. And operations, the operations portion of the CIP includes construction, mechanical and electrical, et cetera. And then other engineering, as it's categorized, includes asset management and development services projects. Of the 5-year CIP budgeted, the summary is before you. There is some overlap in these numbers. So fiscal year 23-24 onto 24, 25, for example, has some projects that carry over from fiscal year. So we do our best to divvy up those projects as it relates to that fiscal year's work.
Can I stop you?
Sure.
On that slide? Can you talk a little bit about the strategy for why there's a low number and then a high number and a low number and a high number and a low number? Can you just explain for the benefit of myself and the public the strategy behind that rather than trying to level it out?
A lot of it's around district initiatives, and you'll see in some of the slides that are about to come why some of the variability exists here, and kind of the history. Looking back 10 years, you'll see also some variability in the district CIP, not only in design phase, but also construction phase, which really accounts for the bulk of the capital improvement budget is in construction. Design dollars are much cheaper in sense than construction dollars. So district initiatives and as General Manager Gumpel kind of laid out, are not constant. There's not a constant initiative every year. They do change. Sometimes there's years where we have to kind of play catch up from projects that have lingered on the books for too long, and it's really time to execute on that. And so it's a kind of a combination of reasons, if that makes sense.
So what I hear you saying is a function of the variability of the different projects we're undertaking year to year.
Correct.
Yeah, but I will say that every budget cycle, we do sit down with Wes and his team, and we do look to see how do we balance this out, and how do we do try to spread the costs out over the years. So there's a general effort to do that, and we do that through the budget process. But Ryan's right, there's those initial project costs are very low in design, and then of course those construction projects, and sometimes those construction projects, you know, a CIP project can be a 2-year project, it can be a 5-year project. So and we can't always control when those costs are going to hit, because they're construction dollars, and it could be an 8-month job, it could be a 12-month job, and we can't control those. If we were to say, well, it's an 8-month job, but we want to make it 16 months to spread it out, contract, that's not going to work, right? It's once you get that contractor on the ground, you want them to build fast and get done and get out. So.
Okay, thank you.
Go ahead. Do you have a question?
Budget for capital projects by fiscal year. Mm-hmm. The previous one, we're at 145 million. What am I missing here? So I mean, I'm looking at fiscal year.
No
Ryan,
problem.
go back. 'Cause
Are we just talking about the capital facilities projects?
No, not only that, the 145 million is a total CIP budget. There's a smaller number, that's the fiscal year budget. So he's going from a total budget to a fiscal year budget. Is that correct?
Correct. This is the total 5-year CIP at Vallecitos for all departments, not just capital facilities.
Okay.
So this is the entire capital improvement program for the district. The pie chart
For 5 years.
Yes.
for 5 years.
Okay.
Correct. And so when we get it down to this graph here, this is just capital facilities, of which fiscal year 23-24 capital facilities had a total budget of $13,200,000.
Thank you.
And of that $13,200,000, we actually spent $10,258,000, which equates to a 78% utilization rate, or target. We came close. 78% is fairly good by our historic standards in capital facilities. Any contract work with ongoing representation in the fiscal year 23-24 is represented in this chart. For example, on the construction contract side, we had some large capital improvement projects, including Montiel Lift Station replacement, the fail-safe Buena Reach, and the Metal Arc treatment plant expansion projects, both of them. And examples on the design side of contracts were the Tres Amigos waterline replacement, the Land Outfall Parallel Sewer Section A project. That was just awarded design, and that actually inflated the design numbers quite a bit. And so otherwise speaking, if we had not just awarded land outfall and really realized no significant work made on that contract, we would have realized an 87% paid to date in design. But because of land outfall, it's at 46, which makes it look a little smaller than in reality than it really was, if that makes sense.
And this is significant because these are all contracts that the board approves through the process. So it's just recognition of, the board, again, supporting the initiatives of the district and awarding these contracts to move these projects forward, whether they are in design or in the construction phase.
Going back the last 10 years, specifically in construction spending, you can see the ramp up in effect since fiscal year 1920. And of most recent, the significant leap being made between fiscal year 22-23 and 23-24. That is directly related to those significant construction contracts I mentioned in the prior slide. And historic capital design spending out of capital facilities over the last 10 years, a similar ramp-up effect since fiscal year 19-20 with a significant spike over the last 2 years as well. And this chart really kind of spells it out, showing the two, design and construction, on the same graph. You'll notice there are two different vertical axes. And historically, when construction and design spending are spiking, I should say construction is typically inverse of design. So when design is spiking, usually you're down on construction spending. When construction is spiking, you're down, typically speaking, on design. And that's kind of the cycle in CIP. That's kind of the natural cycle, I'd say. They're kind of inverse opposites. However, as you'll see on this, both are drastically trending upwards since that fiscal year 1920.
Is that because we have a lot of projects that we are planning and a lot of projects that we are concurrently doing?
That's exactly right. There was a lot of projects kind of teed up for final design and then getting out to bid in construction phase over the initial kind of couple years after 1920. And then coinciding with that were some very large design professional services agreements and things that we authorized around that same time frame to really culminate now, a couple years after that, to be in the situation we are today, which tracks. I think everyone here is aware and remembers the large scale items that come before the board from capital facilities.
Yeah, and this is also just a reflection of the increasing cost to do business. So the consultant prices are going up, material and construction costs are going up, so you're also seeing that effect.
This table before you just shows the capital projects in design phase, the significant ones in 23-24. That includes Tres Amigos waterline replacement. We're actually going to be opening bids next Thursday on the Meadowlark CCT expansion, paired with the Meadowlark conversion to sodium hypochlorite. As you remember, we decided to marry those two projects together under one construction agreement. That is ongoing right now. We are currently mobilizing to the site, or the contractor is. Las Postas waterline replacement. We're going to be we are in the field right now doing potholes, and next week we're going to be relining that water line. Land outfall parallel sewer section A is just getting off the ground in pre-design, so just a word, a very large PSA, over $3 million in budget on that one. In contract value on that one. So not a lot materializing yet, but it is moving forward finally. And then the meters testing and maintenance building, which we just completed design on that one.
So, Paul, is that in conjunction with Encina? Are we working with them on that at all, or is that 100% us?
On the land outfall, this is the Section A land outfall. It's 100% Vallecitos owned. We're the only stake in it, so we are carrying this one forward. The preliminary design that comes out of land outfall will have stakeholders downstream, but it'll be with Carlsbad and Buena Sanitation.
What is it, A, B, and C or something? Or
Yeah, A, B, C, D, yeah.
B is with like Vista, Carlsbad, and C is with Encina type of thing?
They're both with Vista Carlsbad with different shares throughout the different segments, and it all ends up at Encina.
Gotcha. And we take care 100% of A.
Yeah.
Encina doesn't have any ownership in the land outfall
Right, okay, and at all?
at all.
Switching over to projects in construction, the most significant in front of you, the Montiel force main and gravity sewer improvements has been completed. Meadowlark fail-safe rehabilitation, the Buena Reach, we are looking to complete construction in the next month. And the 16-inch emergency bypass rehabilitation project, we're talking about potentially finishing that out before the calendar year if things work out. And then similarly, Coronado Hills tank and Richland 1 tank are wrapping up construction, probably about another month left in that. And then material delays have delayed our Montiel lift station replacement to start in March of 2025, but that is all moving forward to that end. So in total, over $18 million of construction contracts being worked on in fiscal year 23-24. We're not talking about change orders. We always strive in capital to attain a change order rate of under 5%. Sometimes that's not possible, but most of the time it is. And over the last 10 years, we've been tracking our metrics. And this last year, we realized actually a negative change order percentage, which was based on a couple projects, emergency bypass and Montiel lift station force main, which accounted for some deductive change orders, which is not our intent or goal. It just worked out that way this past year. But if you compare our averages, which over the last 10 years was 185 change orders totaling $864,000, that's a 1.3% change order rate. That is very good in my opinion. If you compare that to, say, a 15% industry standard change order rate just across the board over our total, almost $65 million in contracts over that time, we would be looking at we have realized the savings of almost $8.9 million due to managing those construction change orders on contracts.
Industry standards 15?
That's debatable. You could say 10 to 15, you could say 25. It really depends on the agency, depends on the project, depends on the contractor.
Most agencies I talk to, when I talk to the GMs, they see 10 to 15% regularly change order rates. We've always held ours pretty low, but we spend a lot more staff resources managing the job. So you'll see staff time on the job to manage that job, but staff time on the job is still nowhere near the $8.8 million. You're talking, over that course of time, a couple $100,000 in staff time to realize that savings. So we've come up with that solution. The team has executed it. It's them working on this, them managing it, actively managing consultants, actively managing projects, and that's how you get those results. And it's something I'm very proud of this team doing, because when I talk to other general managers, when they see something around 5%, that they're ecstatic.
So we do many in-house. We have very few outside construction management services. Is that my understanding? Like on the Montiel, are we using outside at all?
We are. Capital Facilities is only a department of 3.
That's what I was
One
wondering.
spot's vacant, so it's really just a department of 2 for the majority of the year. But we have a team behind us in support of us of consultants and construction managers and inspectors, and without our contracting mechanisms and entering into professional services agreements, we wouldn't be able to accomplish the work that we do. We don't have the resources available to do that.
Yeah, so when Ryan and his team go to an event, we always say, Capital Facilities Party of 2. But, it is really a accomplishment, even with the use of outside services, which, Ryan and his team still actively manage, that they're able to keep that construction change order value low. And I've worked for an agency where their goal was to meet 25%. So we are well far and above the average, and the numbers
Thank you for being efficient.
agree with that.
Yeah, I want to echo that. Thank you for your diligence. It sounds, I've heard the word actively manage several times when you've been speaking, and I think that's probably a euphemism. So thank you for your diligence. I have a question. What is the threshold that triggers when the board hears about it and it's called a change order that we must approve? Is it the $50,000 or is it?
No, so in the policy, depending on the contract amount, there's a setting, a percentage. So for
Okay.
lower contract amounts, and Ryan probably knows the numbers exactly, it's 10%, then it goes down to 7.5, then 5. And then when it gets to a certain project dollar amount, then it's set by the board. So-
Right, that's correct. So the
Okay.
larger projects are 5%, the smaller contract values are 10%. And you're correct, it has to be board approved if it's I
So
think over $10 million.
Okay, I
Yeah,
understand.
so in other words, if there's a $10 million project that comes before you, then the board sets the change order percentage before, that staff could negotiate before it has to come to the board.
Thank you.
Yeah, and Ryan and the staff work with either with our inspectors, if it's internal, or with the outside consultant, and they really work with those contractors on those change orders, one, to mitigate them, hopefully to make them go away, but even if those come up, there's a negotiation, there's a process where they have to submit, and we review those and investigate, and so there's a very thorough process, and each change order is really its own story, because things do happen and they're out of our control, they're unforeseen circumstances, and some are genuine mistakes, and we kind of work through those. And active management is definitely, I think a term I want to say Ryan invented when I came back, and I was like, wow, and that's actually really true. And you'll notice on all of the capital facilities memos, he has a sentence that says, and it sort of gets missed, but it says, staff performs construction management and inspection services, and that one sentence tells you that we're involved and we're actively managing the projects, and that is really the number one reason why those contract change order percentages are low, because many agencies do not do that. They sort of farm that out and then just kind of walk away and let another an outside consultant run the job. We do not do that.
Thank you.
And then just to highlight some of the accomplishments, project accomplishments, as I mentioned, Richland 1 tank is nearly all 100% complete. Coronado Hills tank refurbishment is undergoing the final bits of construction, about 1 more month left of that. But this, you can see a before and after picture of the Richland 1 tank, and then nice newly lined steel on the inside. Very important part of our tank refurbishment program here. We usually have one in rotation at all times. The Meadowlark fail-safe Buena Reach project, this is almost complete as well. We're undergoing the final lining, trenchless lining segments of this one. And this is the project that is being 50% reimbursed by Buena Sanitation District. Montiel Lift Station and Force Main Replacement Project, as I kind of mentioned before, the force main and the gravity sewer improvements have been completed. Now we're just waiting on material deliveries for the lift station replacement to take place. We expect that to start in March 2025. And Tres Amigos water replacement just underwent another break today, unfortunately. The construction department got right on it and patched it up. We're back in water distribution again, but that's the whole objective and strategic focus of prioritizing this project, is just to mitigate those breaks that have become all too frequent. We are going to open bids next Thursday, and then the board can expect an award coming in September. And I know you've seen this slide a lot. It's one of the ones I'm proud of it, just like Ed is. Without capital facilities, we wouldn't have been able to marry these two projects and execute them both kind of at the same time. They were both two different originated. They had two different originations and two different kind of sets of objectives and goals. But the decommissioning of chlorine gas was such a big operational priority here. I'm very proud to have been involved with this project to get it where it's at today, to where we actually don't have chlorine gas on site at Meadowlark anymore. And for that, I think that in itself has been a huge accomplishment. We are moving forward. Next step on this project will be to decommission recycled water production and start demolition of the chlorine contact tank. just another slide on the CCT, which, and the other half of that is the conversion to sodium hypochlorite, of course, which bleach is replacing chlorine gas. And then I've mentioned it a couple times, the land outfall parallel sewer section A, very large design contract will become a very large construction agreement in the future. We're looking at spending the next approximate 3 years in design phase of this project, and we've awarded it to Dudek for design services, and that's all kicked off and underway now. We're moving forward in preliminary design.
How long is that?
Section A or the entire?
Section A.
Section A is, I want to say it's roughly 4 miles.
Is it really?
Yeah. Yep. And this item is informational, and with that, I can take any questions you have.
What questions do my colleagues have?
One question.
Yep.
So in the first slide, you mentioned there's operations capital improvement budget. When does that cross the line? Because to me, operations is ongoing. When does it cross the line from an ongoing, annual budget to a capital improvement budget? What criteria has to be met for it to be categorized under capital improvement instead of just operations?
Yeah, the criteria is it has to be an asset, right? So they're always maintaining, cleaning, but when we talk about replacing a generator or building pipe, now it's a physical asset that we can depreciate, and that's when it becomes a capital project. So you have an operating budget.
Right.
And then you've got that capital budget.
Right.
So those,
So at the point when you
and there's a dollar value. if you-
improve it, because you're always maintaining it. So that's my question. When does it go from maintaining
So-
to actual
So
capital?
if you replace it, so you're done maintaining it, you replace it, you're building a new item, you're getting a new pump, that's a new capital asset. You're replacing an old pump, but you're getting a new pump. So when you're just maintaining its operational budget,
Okay.
as soon as you create a new asset or a replacement asset, then it's a
it's under-
capital. And there's more to it, and Wes, if you'd like to
So
add.
replacement or
Yeah, if
adding
you're
to?
replacing gaskets or
And-
your
and there's
grease
also-
bearings or something on the pump, that's not a capital project. That's just maintenance.
Yeah, basically extending useful life.
That would go under the capital, that would be a CIP budget item instead of an operational item.
Correct.
We'll let Wes add a little bit
Okay.
more insight to
Is
that.
this thing on? I've never stood up here before.
You look
I
good
think you
though.
should do it more often.
So we actually, so we do have a capital asset policy, which sets the criteria for this.
Okay, that's what I wanted to know, yeah.
Yeah, and one of the most important things as far as the criteria for a capital asset is it has to be more than $10,000, and it has to have a useful life of more than 2 years, of at least 2 years, I believe. So $10,000 in at least 2 years, and then it can qualify. It also has to meet the guidelines, which is like GASB again, for what qualifies as a capital asset, meaning it can't be painting, it can't be repairs, it can't be maintenance. So those are the main things. 2 years, $10,000, and it has to qualify as an asset.
Perfect, that's exactly what I want, okay, thank you. That's-
Thank you, Wes.
You can stand up there anytime.
Or maybe we just need a third mic, I don't know, like, just expand it.
I knew we were in trouble when you started asking the engineers about capitalization.
Let's get the money guy.
So, a couple of times in this presentation, we've heard about places, pipelines that unfortunately are breaking somewhat more frequently than I think we would like and we would expect. And something that has, I've heard sort of bits and pieces since I've been on the board, but when we are looking to hire someone to do this work for us, I know we take bids. What are the criteria around which bids we choose? And if we have a criterion that results in us choosing a vendor that may not provide us with the highest quality of work, maybe we need to revisit those criteria. And I'm not sure that I've ever known explicitly what those criteria are and the way we go about it. So 2 minutes or 1 minute, can you just explain that to me? Thank you.
I could do one thing and hand it over. So there's 2 different buckets for criteria. One is professional services, and that's not based on a low bid, that's most qualified. And we have a whole process, and we have a policy, and we have a whole process in which we select, we competitively go out and seek proposals, not bids. And that's based on basically a most qualified. Within the actual selection of bid, we follow the public contracting laws and rules, and I know we have some flexibility, but we've only used that flexibility a couple times since I've been here. And basically, the idea is we've put together a document which is our plans and specs, that provides the guidelines and criteria, and if they meet that, then they've met those qualifications. Would you like to add more to that?
Yeah, I mean, that's basically it. Yeah, we follow our own policies and California law, and it's low bid for contractors. And there's been very few occasions where we've ever not taken the low bid, and usually there's a material error on their part that would make them, basically makes the bid ineligible. And we always work with council on reviewing those contracts when it comes to public bids.
Yeah, so we're essentially under the public contract code, we have to take the low bid. Unless we take an alternate process, there is a pre-qual process that the district could go through to where you pre-qualify contractors before they bid. Usually, most agencies don't do that unless they've got large projects. So, your standard CIP projects, you're not typically doing that. We have clients that have started to do that more on a regular basis. And the other issue is if you've had bad experiences, you can go through a difficult process of disqualifying those people so they don't bid on your projects again. I know one of my partners, that's her poison pill in settlement negotiations, where somebody gets sued and they want extra money from the public agency, and you just get a 5-year holdout or something. But that's pretty rare. But as said, absent those things, it's low bid on public works contracts. As James indicated, the professional services agreements are different. You can do it on most qualified.
And to loop back, Tres Amigos is brought about because it was installed originally in the 50s with a very thin steel pipeline, which is bringing about all the breaks that the district is experiencing. It's not a matter of poor workmanship or something like that.
Okay,
yeah.
it's just, it needs to be replaced, and that's why we're replacing it.
Precisely.
Okay.
Yep.
Okay. All right, thank you. Thanks for that explanation. Anything else?
One quick thing. Props to Allison and Ryan for doing a killer job on this CIP. And Glenn used to have this slide. It would say that we're like the 6th cheapest water in San Diego. I like that slide a lot. And then he would always point out, but with desal, if you take that out, we'd be like number 1 or 2. And we need to bring that one back.
It definitely will come back, especially when we look at rates, but I believe, and Wes, please correct me if I'm wrong, we may be the 2nd or 3rd cheapest water rate, even with desal currently.
There you go.
Is that correct? I think we're 4th. Oh, 4th, okay. We're right there, though.
But my point is operational efficiency is what gets us there, and that's props to you all. Thank you.
Okay, thank you for that presentation. That was a lot of work. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
And I think that was just information only, so I think we are finished with our action items, and we are now moving to the reports. So General Manager Gumpel.
Thank you, Madam President. I have a couple items. First, you've actually already heard of. So we had another main break on our Tres Amigos pipeline. Good news is you've heard tonight that the bid openings for replacement of that pipeline is coming, I believe, next Thursday, and we hope to get that in front of the board September or October at the latest, and actually get that pipeline replaced. I actually talked to Ed a bit, and I wanted this opportunity to bring Ed up if possible, since I missed last opportunity. Unfortunately, it's not to embarrass him, but to actually talk about the pipeline break. And a little bit of history, because I looked at the numbers and they were astounding, and this thing is a priority, and probably should have been a priority a long time ago. So, Ed?
So as Engineer Morgan mentioned, that this pipeline is from the 50s. District was formed in 1955. I think we purchased it actually off some farmers in 1958, so I'm not sure the exact age, but it's actually steam pipe. It's not even meant for carrying water pressure. And it's been there a long time. Pulled some information off of our CMMS Maximo. So there's been 41 breaks on this line.
Since,
Gonna put my glasses on
since
now.
we adopted it?
Since we've taken it over. 32 breaks in just the last 10 years, 8 breaks in the last 12 months, and 5 since February, including the one this morning. And Kevin Anktel, our construction supervisor, was walking along the line this afternoon and found another leak. It's a slow one. We'll probably roll on it tomorrow. So that'll take that up to 6.
So you can see
since
the
February.
the break data when I saw it, it's accelerating.
Oh, yeah.
So this is definitely a pipeline that is in need of replacement.
Yeah, we're all happy, and operations, especially construction crew, is happy. And they've gotten so quick on repairing that line, and we're just putting repair clamps on it. We're not trying to weld on it anymore because we know this project's been coming. Normally, I'm gonna knock on wood when I talk about another break, say a ductile iron pipe break, it's about 8 hours, 6 to 8 hours is our average. And that's including response time, getting everything cleaned up and back in service. It was about 3.5 hours this morning.
Okay.
And it's in Vista. So they responded to it, and luckily it's pretty shallow pipe, and so they were able to get customers back in water in less than 4 hours, which is incredible.
Thank you.
What's shallow? You say shallow, how deep is shallow?
That pipeline there is about 3 to 4 feet deep is all.
So how long and how deep is it?
We're replacing,
Replacing all the steam
is it
pipe.
about a mile?
It's 2 miles.
Yeah.
2 miles out of.
It's really 2 miles, an average of 3 to 5 feet deep?
It varies in depth depending on where it's, a portion of it goes through the strawberry fields as well. And that section, actually, it's not so much that it breaks, the farmer keeps ripping through it. So,
So it's not very deep though.
So the
no.
farmer does pay for those repairs when he rips through it, so.
Yeah, but the reason that it's not that deep is because they keep moving the dirt.
Yeah.
And so
That's what I'm wondering,
they've
over
exposed it in certain areas. So we've been working with property owners, and we are moving the pipeline when the new section goes into a section of road that goes through the strawberry fields. But it's been frustrating for us over the years.
Sure. Well, it sounds to me like we are moving forward with it, and it sounds also to me like we have a relationship with the landowner.
Yes.
And
Oh,
we
yes.
are working with them, and that's.
We know a
that's
lot of those
important.
customers by name out there.
Yep.
And
And,
the
and we're,
strawberry's pretty good?
Oh, those strawberries are really good.
You should get some.
and we're taking the pipelines, goes through people's yards, we're putting it into the right of way. Thank you, Ed. So, one of the other things, I think the board got an email from Jason today. There's the Los Postos Road Rehab Project, using kind of a new system. It's been used in the county, before with success, but it's the first time we're using it. So if there's an opportunity for the board to go out and observe it, please let Jason know, and he could get you guys scheduled and get you the proper, hard hat and vest, and obviously wear comfortable shoes and pants, so. Also, our intern, Arturo Trujillo's from San Diego County Water Authority, or the San Diego Regional Internship, started. So he's going through his rotation, I believe, starting water ops. There will be night work on Mission Road, and there'll be valve exercises. Staff will be exercising valves on San Leo Road. So you'll see them out there on San Leo Road if you're in that area. And the night work was on Mission. Ed, where about Mission was it? I couldn't remember. Sorry. Bring it up again.
So we're performing a pre-shutdown for the contractors on Mission Road and Las Posas where the CVS is, and they're doing all that construction right there. So that's where they're gonna be testing the valves and make sure they hold. And then they'll move on to the valve turning in San Leo since they're already out. That's a terrible street to be working on during the day, 'cause especially with school now back in, so we try to hit the high traffic areas at night.
About when will that occur?
after the shutdown, so probably midnight to 5 in the morning,
What day?
tonight.
Tonight,
Yeah,
okay.
it's tonight. So yeah, if you see a truck out there, if you're out and about early morning hours, that's just us
Okay.
turning valves.
Yeah, thank you.
And that concludes my report.
Okay, thank you. Thank you for that report. District Legal Counsel Gilpin.
Thank you. 3 items. One, just an update relative to Lake San Marcos. I want to keep the board apprised, as you've expressed an interest. My partner, Andre Manette, and James have met and are arranging meetings with the regional board staff to discuss with them Vallecitos' lack of role in the issues. So more to report on that. We will be coming back for a closed session at the next meeting relative to some recent PFAS settlements. You may remember there were 3M and DuPont. There are now 2 more from Tyco and BASF, and so I'll be bringing those back at the first meeting in September to discuss with the board. The final item, I'll send you all electronic version of this, but this is key insights into open government and ethics that has been authored by our firm, and no less, one of the authors is someone you know well, Nick. It is a short overview of policies that affect all of you. It's into buckets for you, involving gift rules and how those apply, your economic statements of interest, the Public Records Act, which is of less interest for you all, the Brown Act. I don't think it's less interest, but it's mainly affects staff. And then avoiding financial conflicts, and then your 290 forms, and finally the Levine Act, which I've expressed to you before, applies to you now. It didn't historically had only applied to private board of the directors, but it now does apply to public agencies. So I'll send you the electronic version of this. They're expecting to have the hard copies ready to distribute in a month or so, but I'll send the electronic version ahead of time.
Great, thank you. That'll be helpful.
Are those state specific, local specific, is that national, what are the specific guidelines?
These are all California guidelines, all California laws, well, yeah,
Okay.
that apply to board of directors, so.
Okay, thank you. I don't need a hard copy. I'll just take the electronic copy.
Okay.
Thank you.
You can convert it to iBooks.
Yeah, one fewer plastic ring binder. Okay, thank you for that report. San Diego County Water Authority, did anyone attend, or is it because Craig is not here, we don't have, or Director Elithop is not here, we do not have a report?
I attended their meeting, and basically from the meeting, besides normal, awards and contracts, business as usual, there's the discussion on the rates have passed now, so there's nothing else really. Now it's more of looking at what we're going to do next and looking at messaging. Nothing came out of it as far as the meeting, and I also attended the North County work group meeting, which is a water authority meeting, and it was much the same conversation.
Okay. Encino Wastewater Authority.
Yes, we had our capital meeting this morning. Whew. And we had one change order for construction management, and we also reviewed our tactical plan. Short meeting, went very well.
Okay, thank you. Standing committees. You want to talk about the P3?
Did we cover that last week?
Well, did we cover it the last meeting? We did? Okay. Okay, all right, we did. Okay, thank you. Okay, any other standing committees?
I'm sorry?
Standing committee.
Nope. Any other standing committees? Okay. Directors' reports on meetings, conferences, seminars attended. Go ahead.
I'm attending the Urban Water Institute conference, which will be today, tomorrow, and Friday morning. Today, the opening speaker, Peter McBride, is a acclaimed photographer and filmmaker, and he gave the keynote speech relative to Colorado River. Very informative, A to Z, 1930 to today. Then he had also a book that I ended up buying because it was a photographer friend that'll be enjoying it. But it was very good, and I'll continue to go.
Okay, great. Thank you for that report, and thank you for making it back for the meeting. Any other conferences? I have a couple, if no one else does. Okay. So I represent Vallecitos Water District on the California Jobs First consortium. It's in conjunction with San Diego SDSU Foundation and the Southern Border Coalition. And it's kind of an interesting consortium of folks that gather to try to promote how we can work together to increase jobs in the region. And we were notified on Friday that there was a deadline Monday at noon to comment on what industries we would like to see as something that's addressed by the SDSU Foundation, which could, of course, bring in a lot of grant money. And interestingly, water, wastewater was not an industry listed. So I'm on this listserv with a bunch of folks that serve in public office around the region, and I strongly advocated for water, wastewater, and I mentioned several things to justify that, specifically that many of us on agencies like this, but also cities, have governance responsibilities, that water jobs are a pathway to social mobility, that we have the opportunity to have good union jobs, constructing water, building water pipelines. We know that the pipeline that the governor is advocating for, the name is escaping me, the Delta Conveyance, is high on the governor's list. We know also that San Diego County Water Authority is planning to increase rates over 40% in the next few years, and that's going to hit low-income folks very, very hard. And we also know about the silver tsunami. So I advocated that water be included as a potential industry to have to be taken a look at by this group of folks that are trying to get money to build jobs, build economies, and build education, which is sort of right up our alley given our emphasis on workforce development. So I wanted to just point that out. I did get some support in that from David Drake, and he said that he agreed that that should be a category. So hopefully, we'll see. We had less than 24 hours to sort of read the information and then comment on it, but I happened to be at my computer when the email came through, so I was able to respond. Secondly, I attended the Aqua Region 9 Workforce Development mini conference a couple of days ago. And some of the things that they talked about I found very, very interesting, particularly in light of how we have some tactical initiatives around workforce development. And they water agencies and irrigation agencies and wastewater agencies were all facing similar issues with recruitment, retention, training, and folks that are retiring with a lot of historical knowledge. And how do we bring new folks in? And a couple of things that I really heard at this conference that validated the things that we are doing that were specifically mentioned tonight is we are creating a DEI policy. And I was sitting at a table and some of the folks rolled their eyes at that, and I said, hey, it doesn't really matter how you personally feel about DEI. Your responsibility is to the district, and you need to recruit and train people. And there are data out there showing this is what our workforce that's just coming in, this is what they want. So responding to that, and I want to compliment us for doing that. This is something that we've been talking about. That's on track, and that will help us recruit and retain folks. Another area that I thought was interesting is having a look and sort of reassessing our job descriptions and seeing if there are ways that we can modify the language to resonate with the workforce that we are trying to attract. So these are just a couple of examples, but We'll be talking about this in the P3 committee more, and I hope that we can have some conversations with HR around some of these areas and really lean into how we attract and bring new folks in, because if we don't, we are going to be even down more people. What was obvious is that we can't do this alone. We have to lean on each other as far as districts in the region go, because we're all facing similar situations. So I wanted to put that out there. I thought it was really, really interesting. It was up in Temecula and very well attended. There were probably 150 people there. And I found it just really interesting. We'll be talking about some of it in the P3 committee coming up, but these are issues that we need to, we're already kind of behind the 8 ball, but the best time to do it was years ago, but now is the second best time to really talk about these issues and invest in them. So I think that is all I have for directors' reports and meetings. Anyone else? Okay. Other business, directors' comments, future agenda items. Any comments? Okay. Seeing none.
No, wait a second.
Oh,
I
okay.
thought you were going to bring up the desire to have that standing committee again for developers, and weren't you going to do that today so that we could put it on the agenda?
I had not planned on bringing that up today.
Oh, okay, fine. Whenever you're ready.
Thanks.
Okay.
I appreciate the permission.
Well,
Okay. Anything else? Okay, then we are adjourned.